There's a woman in Kyoto who, every morning at 6 a.m., does a few small things before the rest of the world wakes up. She drinks a glass of warm water. She steps outside for a few minutes, even in the rain. She doesn't touch coffee for almost 2 hours. She walks slowly to a small shrine 3 blocks away and back. And for the first 30 minutes of her day, her phone stays exactly where she left it the night before. Face down, untouched, silent. Her name is Kazuko. She's 61. Her waist measurement hasn't changed in over a decade. She's never been on a diet. She doesn't own a set of dumbbells. And somewhere else right now, someone our age is waking up, skipping breakfast, and heading out the door for a punishing workout. Someone doing everything right, tracking every calorie and still not able to shift the weight sitting around their middle. If that's you, and especially if you've noticed your waistline changing in ways that have nothing to do with what you're eating, this one matters. Because what changes for a lot of us after 50 isn't just metabolism, it's a hormone. What if the difference between Kazuko and the person doing everything right has almost nothing to do with diet or exercise and almost everything to do with a single hormone that spikes in your body within 30 minutes of waking, whether you notice it or not? Today, I'm counting down 7 small, free, almost invisible shifts used for generations in Japan that can start working on that hormone as early as tomorrow morning. Stay till number 1. Researchers call it maybe the most important of all 7, and it has nothing to do with movement. Before we get into it, we need to take apart an equation almost everyone believes without ever questioning it. Belly fat is a math problem. Eat less, move more, and it disappears. That equation leaves out one variable entirely, a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol isn't a villain. It's what gets you out of bed and helps you meet the demands of the day. Within about 30 minutes of waking, cortisol levels rise by roughly 50%, completely normal, even necessary. The problem is what happens when that rise is pushed too high, too fast, or kept elevated too long. A body under sustained stress shifts into what researchers call a protective fat-storing state, and it doesn't store that fat evenly. Research published in the journal Obesity has linked elevated morning cortisol specifically to abdominal fat, the kind the body wraps around the organs, not the kind on your arms or thighs. This is exactly why so many people can cut sugar, train hard, eat on schedule, and still carry stubborn weight at the waist. They're fighting a hormonal pattern with tools that were never built to touch it. Japan has some of the lowest rates of abdominal obesity among industrialized nations, and researchers keep landing on the same answer. It isn't a diet, it isn't a supplement. It's what happens, or doesn't happen, in the first 30 to 90 minutes after waking. Let's go through all 7, because the order matters as much as the habits themselves. Let's start with 7. 7. Delaying coffee for 90 minutes. This might be the most uncomfortable habit on the list, so stick with it. The mechanism is worth it. The moment you wake up, your brain is saturated with a chemical called adenosine, the molecule behind that groggy feeling. Your body normally clears it within about 90 minutes. Coffee works by blocking the receptors adenosine binds to, but if you drink it before that natural clearing finishes, you're blocking receptors that are still full. The adenosine doesn't disappear. It waits. When the caffeine wears off later, often right around 2 or 3 p.m., all that backlogged adenosine hits at once. The crash reads to your body as a stress event. Cortisol rises, cravings follow, and the cycle quietly repeats in the afternoon. The Japanese concept of emma, the deliberate pause, applied here simply means giving your body those 90 minutes to wake up on its own terms first. The reward isn't just avoiding the afternoon crash. It's that when you do have your coffee, it actually works the way it's supposed to. That's 7. 6. A protein-first breakfast. Most Western breakfasts, cereal, a pastry, juice, spike blood sugar fast and drop it just as fast. That crash is read by your body as a mini emergency, and cortisol rises to correct it before you've even finished your first coffee. A traditional Japanese breakfast, rice, miso soup, grilled fish, a few pickled vegetables, is built around protein and fermented food instead of sugar. It keeps blood sugar level rather than spiking it, which means no crash and no cortisol response before 9 a.m. Miso itself, a fermented soybean paste, has been studied for its effect on the gut-brain axis, the communication line between digestion and stress hormones. A steady gut environment is linked to steadier cortisol. You don't need to cook fish at dawn. The principle is what matters. Start the day with protein and something fermented. Eggs, yogurt, a small bowl of miso soup instead of sugar. That's 6. 5. Morning light, within the first hour. This sounds almost too simple to matter, and yet the research behind it is some of the most consistent in circadian science. Within the first 30 to 60 minutes of waking, get outside. Actual outside, not through a window, for 5 to 10 minutes of natural light. Light hitting your eyes in the morning is the primary signal your brain uses to set your circadian rhythm, your internal 24-hour clock. When that clock drifts, everything downstream drifts with it: sleep quality, hunger hormones, and cortisol regulation. Morning light triggers serotonin production during the day, which becomes the raw material for melatonin at night, which produces deeper sleep, which produces a calmer cortisol curve the next morning. One small action quietly sets up your hormones for the day after. In Japan, this is built into something that barely looks like a habit: a short walk called sampo, often just to a station, a shrine, or the corner store. Not for fitness, just for light. That's 5. 4. A few minutes of slow breathing. Before you move at all, a few minutes of slow, deliberate breathing. In for a count of 4, out for a count of 6, the exhale longer than the inhale, does something most people wouldn't expect from something so small. Slow, extended exhales activate the vagus nerve, the body's main parasympathetic brake, and research has consistently linked a few minutes of this kind of breathing to measurably lower cortisol within the same session. It's the closest thing to a reset button your nervous system has, and it costs nothing and takes no equipment. In Japan, this shows up in kokyu, mindful breathing, often practiced for just a minute or two before rising from bed or right after. Not a meditation class, not an app subscription, a few slow breaths before your feet hit the floor. That's 4. 3. Warm water before coffee. After 7 or 8 hours of sleep with zero fluid intake, your body wakes up in a quiet state of dehydration, cells running on reserves. And here's what most of us do at exactly that moment: walk straight into the kitchen and reach for coffee. The first thing your body needs in the morning is hydration, not stimulation. Hitting an already dehydrated, already cortisol-rising body with caffeine has been compared to pouring fuel on a fire that's already lit. The Japanese alternative is almost embarrassingly simple: a glass of warm water, sometimes with a small pinch of sea salt and a squeeze of lemon. The warmth signals digestion to come back online. The salt replaces minerals like sodium and magnesium burned through overnight. Magnesium plays a role in regulating cortisol, and the vitamin C from the lemon has been shown to meaningfully blunt cortisol spikes following stress. 2 minutes, 1 glass. And before you've done anything else, you've sent your nervous system a very specific message: we're safe. We don't need to brace for anything yet. That's 3. 2. An easy walk instead of an intense workout. Here's where this gets genuinely counterintuitive. We've been taught harder is always better, that an intense morning workout is the fastest way to burn fat. But research increasingly suggests timing matters as much as intensity, and the worst possible time for a high-intensity workout might be exactly when cortisol is naturally peaking. Studies have found that intense exercise layered directly on top of that morning cortisol surge can keep cortisol elevated for hours afterward. You feel great in the moment, but your hormones are quietly paying for it the rest of the day. The Japanese alternative isn't doing nothing. It's Sampo again, now in motion. 20 to 30 minutes of easy, unhurried walking. Researchers have identified something called optic flow, the visual experience of your surroundings sliding past you as you walk, which has a measurable, calming effect on the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center. An overactive amygdala is like a smoke alarm that won't stop ringing, and a ringing alarm keeps cortisol elevated. Walking with the world moving past you turns the alarm down. Not a treadmill facing a wall. Outside, where things actually move. That's 2. Just 1 left. And it has nothing to do with movement at all. 1. Protecting the first 30 minutes from your phone. This is the habit almost nobody follows, and the one researchers describe as maybe the most important of all 7. The instant you look at your phone after waking, your brain is flooded. Notifications, messages, headlines, each one triggering a small spike of dopamine paired with a small spike of cortisol. In seconds, your nervous system shifts from rest mode into reactive mode, and that early, repeated stimulation raises your baseline for the rest of the day, meaning you need more stimulation, more stress, just to feel normal. More cortisol, more fat stored around the middle. The Japanese idea of jaku, stillness, quiet, applied here simply means protecting that first half hour. Drink your water. Step outside. Breathe. Walk. Let your nervous system boot up gently instead of being jolted awake. Think of your brain like a computer. You wouldn't start opening 50 browser tabs before the operating system finishes loading. That's exactly what checking your phone at 6 a.m. does to your nervous system. That's number 1. Let's bring it all together because the order matters as much as the habits themselves. Water before coffee, breathing before movement, sunlight within the first hour, a protein-first breakfast instead of sugar, a 90-minute pause before caffeine, a walk instead of an intense workout, and 30 phone-free minutes to let your nervous system wake up on its own terms. None of this requires a gym membership, a meal plan, a supplement, or a single dollar spent. What it requires is rethinking the order of your first hour, because that stubborn weight around your middle was never really about willpower. It was about hormones, and hormones respond to habit more than almost anything else in the body. So here's what we'd suggest. Not next week, tomorrow morning. Tonight, leave a glass of water somewhere you'll see before your phone. That's the only preparation needed. Tomorrow, drink the water first. Take a few slow breaths. Step outside, even briefly. Hold off on coffee as long as you reasonably can, with something protein-forward instead of sugar. If you have time, take a short, easy walk. And for the first half hour, don't reach for your phone. That's it. 7 small shifts, in one order, repeated daily. Kazuko has never once described any of this as a routine. To her, it's simply how a morning begins. If this changed how you think about your own mornings, share it with someone who's been doing everything right and still can't figure out why nothing's changing. They may be one quiet morning away from finding out why. This has been a look into the science and philosophy behind morning rhythm and hormonal health. Not a prescription, a perspective. If it hit you, subscribe so you don't miss what's next, and drop a comment letting me know which habit you're starting with tomorrow. See you in the next one.